going on, everybody? So today I'm going to be reviewing the Spyderco Triangle Sharpener. This is a sharpener that I've had for a few years now. Actually, a little trick for you guys. I'm going to put down this. This is the mat that you put down under or in your drawer. It's called a drawer liner. And it's just like real non-slip. So using this, it's plastic obviously. If I'm putting it on a surface, it's going to slip a little bit easier. So let's open this up. So you could tell that I've had this for a few years because obviously the stones still have some metal shavings left on them. So in this configuration, you're given a set of coarse stones, you're given a set of fine stones, and then you also have these little brass safety guards. So I will set up this how I normally would. So these little holes, you put in these safety guards, and then let's say we're starting with establishing a grind. Each stone, obviously this is why it's called the Triangle Sharpmaker, is because they're obviously triangles. One side has a hook sharpener, but you have the flats of the stone and then you have the edges of the stone. The edges of the stone are going to be much more coarse than the flats. So on one side of this you have a 30-degree back bevel, and then on the other side you have a 40-degree edge. Also on the side you have a slot to sharpen scissors. I have my setup to establish a grind. This is for a back bevel for a knife. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to set this up on my right. And you take this and you put your hand here. So I have this is a knife that's really dull, needs a grind established on it. So I'm going to put my hand here to hold this down flat. And I'm going to start by dragging the blade, and I'm keeping this at a 90-degree angle and just drawing it straight through. And the nice thing about this is, unlike on a Japanese stone where you're sharpening one side, then you go over and you sharpen the other side. This is I sharpen one side, I sharpen the other side. There's no back and forth. I'm just keeping this grind, or keeping the blade right at a 90-degree angle, and you could feel that the edges are really digging into the metal of this blade and starting to, I don't know how well you could see that, but there's a good back bevel starting to form on there. Now what we'll do is I'll bring the back bevel down until it's well established. So the idea of what we're doing is, if I have a blade that's just 40 degrees, it's just going to be like this. If I have a blade that's 30 degrees, it's just going to be like this. If I have a blade that's 30 and 40 degrees, so a 30-degree back bevel and a 40-degree blade, you're going to have a durable edge, but you're also not going to have big fat sides on it like you would with a 40-degree blade. So, or 40-degree angle on the edge of your blade. So this is a fatter front with thinner sides. So I typically will just do the edges, and I'll do about 20 strokes and then check the blade. I think you could use a little bit more. Go back, I'll do another 20. That looks a little bit better. Now I'm going to take the move from the edge. So now I'm no longer cutting on the edge, I'm going to be cutting on the flat. And this is a bit finer, so this is going to be a bit less coarse than the last step. Still keeping this at 90 degrees. And then really, since this is the back bevel, you don't have to go to like a mirror polish. It'll make your blade it'll make it cut through things a lot easier, but it's not necessary. I'll typically go to the flats on the dark stones, and that's about it. I don't really feel the need to mirror polish my back bevel, but my edge I will. So now that that's established, I'm going to take out my brass rods and take the cover off. I'm going to flip this over, and now this is the 40-degree edge side. Put that down, put my brass rods back in. And the reason that they use, I believe it's brass, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reason that they use this is it's softer than steel. So if I'm here and I slip and I hit this, I'm not going to be destroying the edge of my blade. It's not going to, also not going to cut me because that's in the way my hand. So, but now I'm going to go back to the coarse edge. This is also known as step 1. After every 20 strokes, I just bring my blade up and then check it and see how the edge is doing on that, seeing if it's too grainy, checking the edge, and it's actually feeling like it's getting pretty sharp already. So now I'm going to switch to step 2, which is the flats of the dark stone. Pretty much repeating the steps that we did on the back bevel. Now one thing, and this is what Spyderco gets a lot of criticism, or not Spyderco, but the sharpener gets a lot of criticism for, is that it doesn't help sharpen the tip. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, my tip is, the tip of my knife is dull. Well, one technique I learned is as you come down, you have to tilt the knife forward. And one thing that this does a really good job is you have the flat of your knife, you have the belly right here, and then you have the tip. The belly is always sharp, no matter what shape of knife. I've always discovered that this sharpener does a really good job on the belly of knives. Flats can be pretty good. I've had some issues with some knives, but they're odd shaped. But with the tip, you really just got to tilt the knife down and ride along the edge of the stone for a little bit, just to make sure that you're hitting the whole length of the blade. So this is pretty, yeah, this is pretty sharp now. So now I'm going to switch to step 3, which is the edges of the stone, the white stones. All these stones are porcelain. So if you've ever heard the trick of sharpening your knife on the bottom of your coffee mug, it's pretty much the same idea, but obviously it's made for sharpening. It's not a coffee mug. And I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing before. 20 strokes, check the edge of the blade, see how it's progressing. If you still feel, especially for this is more getting towards the refining and the polishing. So if you feel any graininess on the blade, or it doesn't start to look like it's helping polish the edge, then I'd do another 20 strokes and check again. But it's really important on the dark stones that you establish a grind and you make sure that it's sharp before you start moving towards the lighter colored stones. So a good test is by the time you're done with the flat on the dark stone, you should be able to push cut through paper. This really refines down your blade and make sure that you can, I could slice through a tomato with this pretty much no problem. But the more you polish it, the less resistance that blade's gonna give, and the easier it's going to be to cut. Wow. So I don't know how well you guys can see this, but it's polishing up quite well. So So now I'm going to switch to flats. Yeah, so this is nice and sharp. I'm gonna go get a piece of paper and show you guys. So now that I'm at the end of my steps, I'm just gonna show you guys like how sharp this knife is. Like, this is no problem cutting through this printer paper. I know there's gonna be guys that spend like 9 hours sharpening their knife that have a better edge on it, but look, for kitchen knives and for, you know, camping knives, this gets a really good edge. You know, this will cut chicken, tomatoes, fruit, anything, no problem. So if you guys can tell, I think, see how this knife has a decent edge on it, or it has a decent grind on it, but the edge kind of sucks. But it's, you know, not very sharp. So that's where this Spyderco comes in and does a really good job. Is, you know, now that this has a grind, I don't need to go back and start from step 1. Really, what you could do is go to the 40-degree edge and continue from step 3 to step 4. Really bringing that kind of jagged edge blade and bringing it together and making sure that, you know, the edge of it is nice and smooth and sharp and in line. I think that's what a lot of people think. Oh, my knives are dull, I need to start from square one. And that's really not true. A lot of the time, that's why, like, these honing rods are given to you when you buy a knife block. And a lot of the time it's because you have a decent grind on your blade, but it's just the edge is been, you know, moved around and it's jagged and it needs to be realigned. There we go. I'm only on step 3. I haven't even hit step 4 yet. So as you can tell, now I think the belly needs a bit work. The flat's good, but the belly's still a little bit dull, if you ask me. So I'm gonna do another 20 strokes. Let's see, we'll start mid blade. So I'd say that's getting pretty sharp. So let's take and now move this to step 4, and this is the ultra fine edge. It'll help you get a really, really, really high mirror polish. Now let's see how well this does. Here's my grid paper. Yeah. If you can cut an S in a piece of paper, that's how you know your knife is sharp. So I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think that this works way better on a big chef's knife like this than it does on a little paring knife like I showed you before. I think it just has a bigger blade, and it gives you a lot more control. Whereas this, maybe not so much. Camping knives, since they have a thicker spine to it, I think are okay. Obviously, this is a very thin spined paring knife, where obviously this chef's knife has a nice amount of rigidity to it. So, as you could tell, as I just sliced that piece of paper, it does a really good job sharpening larger chef's knives. Knives like these. So I definitely encourage you guys to get it. I think it does a really good job. You know, check out Spyderco's website. They make some of the best knives on earth, and I'd say they're definitely top 5 best knife sharpeners out there. So check it out. Let me know what you guys think. See you later.